Hi, my name is Alejandro Pérez Pérez, and this is the AI Coffee Podcast. Every week, you will have one disruptive aspect of technology and artificial intelligence for the time you drink a cup of coffee. Today, we are going to learn together how AI can change an NGO or the public sector. But let's talk by the beginning. Why it is so important to talk about AI while talking about the public sector as well. And it's true that normally when we talk about digitalization, digital transformation, AI, machine learning, all the things that are trendy nowadays, we are always talking about the importance of doing that in the private sector. I mean, in the big companies, in small companies, in SMEs, in startups. I think it's a big debate how to change and increase the productivity of these private sector companies by using AI. And it's really interesting. And I work with some companies like that into making them more profitable, interest about AI, but also more ethical guidelines, how to implement the AI correctly, AI for good. I already talk about that a lot of times. But on the other hand, what about the public sector? Is it possible to increase the productivity of a school, for example, or a hospital by using AI? The answer is yes. It's obvious that nowadays the public sector needs that transformation as well to be as good as the private sector in terms of digitalization. And it is actually a big debate how to do it. And we are going to talk a bit about that during this episode. But the need of that, I think it's clear. I maybe you agree with me that it's very relevant to implement these techniques as well in the public sector and also in the NGOs, in these third organizations all around the government and the states that also affects to the public, because usually they are non-digitalized and they have a lot of issues on that. They don't even have good data, but they could improve a lot if they do the correct things. And we are going to talk about that during this episode. If you are working in the public sector or in an NGO and want more data, please contact me. You know, my website is alejandroperezperez.com. You can contact me there. You can contact me also in this podcast. There is many ways to contact me. We can see your specific details. We can do a small coffee for free. Don't worry for that, and I will be happy to help you. But let's talk a bit about how different use cases that AI could help a lot if you are working in the public sector or for an NGO. So the first, it's for example in the healthcare sector. I did my master thesis of a master's degree I did a couple of years ago about how to implement AI, well-designed AI, let's say, or AI for humans design, right? AI in the healthcare sector, in the education sector, in the developing regions in the world to improve, let's say, the human resources over there that sometimes they are not they are not enough. So they could improve, let's say, the professionals possibilities in these areas by using AI. So for example, let's maybe talk about that and then little by little go into, let's say, the regular hospitals that maybe we all have in our towns or cities. So imagine an AI that could be able to analyze all the data in this hospital, in this region, even in the whole world, of, for example, all the treatments that has been done to different people for specific illnesses, for specific problems. So why, if we would be able to analyze all the data and considering different types of treatments or even personalized treatments for you specifically, so that maybe you could have one specific age, or you are a man or a woman, or you have, for example, specific mutations on your DNA, that maybe in your case it's better to use one specific treatment rather than another one that maybe it has the same effects, but for you, it's better for your body, for the future. Who never knows, right? So this is done nowadays in many different places with AI. And also, my idea is like, okay, we cannot change the doctor in the hospital, of course, or we cannot change the professional. I think it's not ethically and it's not good because AI is not so good as a person in many different ways. For example, in talking to you, being connecting with you. Imagine that you need you are going to be given a bad news, for example. I think it's very very relevant to have another person to talk with, and that this person has enough time to talk to you to communicate about this. Or maybe if you need to choose to make a decision about specific treatments in complex problems and sickness, maybe it's nice to have a person in front of you, a real human. But is it really worth it, for example, nowadays, to have people in the scenario, like analyzing all the X-ray analysis you are be given, or all the analysis, all the echographies and these screens and tests that you are done in a hospital? Maybe not. Maybe nowadays this is a place where it's very relevant to have AI nowadays, because AI now is able to understand if you have a small tumor or you have a small problem, just by looking one specific photograph or your skin or whatever, much better than a human, because this is what actually AI works well with. It works really well by analyzing patterns, looking at a lot of information, and doing this comparison with your data. It really works well, and it works much better than a human, because a human could be tired, could maybe be, I don't know, looking at many pictures during the same day, so maybe it's a bit tired. Maybe this person forgets to look at one specific spot, but AI goes pixel by pixel in one specific picture, for example, analyzing everything. And the nowadays the precision is much better than a human. But of course, I wouldn't like, for example, an AI to contact me saying that one of my mm, X-rays or whatever have done in a hospital has a problem or a potential problem. I would prefer a human to talk to me, as maybe in your case. So in public sector, I think there's a lot of opportunities with this hybrid combination between AI and human intelligence in that case. But what about, for example, education? Because I have been talking to you also that education is a very relevant aspect. Also talking about AI, is it possible to improve education in our systems by using AI? The answer is yes, of course, yes. Actually, it's like calculators, for instance, or many different things that, for example, I remember when I was a kid that in my school, I was not able to use a calculator. And I guess it's important to understand how to do addition, subtractions, all that operations. But at the end of the day, now I'm older and I use a calculator. I use Excel. I use whatever. I mean, even nowadays, I have studied physics and many different, let's say, numerical degrees and stuff like that. Nowadays, I use a calculator because I guess it's very practical and it's very necessary to use that. So why not to use, for example, ChatGPT or variations like that to write texts? And of course, it's very interesting and important to understand how to write text, because it's like the basis of working with everything. But on the other hand, this is something we have. It's a tool we have nowadays and we will have for future. So I think it's better to first teach. If I was a teacher, I would focus on teach how to do these things, but also how to use AI to improve my writer skills or whatever, and focusing on other things that nowadays I think they create more value for a human than before. Because before, like before 5 years ago, we needed all to write all our texts. So writing was a very important thing. But nowadays, maybe it's more important to focus on, I don't know, communicate with others orally, for example. So why not to, instead of asking the students to create a dissertation, an essay about whatever, which I think is irrelevant, and for some specific positions, it's going to be more relevant in the future as well. But for the majority, now maybe it's better to focus on, okay, let's communicate, let's do a speech in front of the people, let's use AI to create whatever, but then uh, be critical, analyzing if this is good or not. And I think this is the point where education should be right now. But I guess it's not easy. So for many teachers nowadays, it's a big thing actually. And I understand them because it's something new. It's something in the middle point. I understand between cheating and using a good tool. So it's not so easy to understand what's the middle point between um, using this in one of the main, let's say, welfare public things we have in our states. But for example, when I was doing this master thesis about education in the developing regions, one thing I discovered is like there are thousands of open source materials for free that are like, I don't know, mathematics for 10 years old people or for 15 years old, and English and all the subjects that we have been doing in schools and high schools. There are many of manuals like that for free that some of the NGOs already use, because this is the idea, right? Like, okay, let there are like people producing these materials that are really great. Even, I mean, Wikipedia and all that materials we have on internet, they are very useful to democratize the knowledge and to be able to specific people that maybe they're not able to afford books or expensive materials to go to internet and have these materials. But why, if we create an artificial intelligence like a version of ChatGPT trained with a mathematics degree or statistics or chemistry or whatever manual that is already published and developed, and we train that with this information so as it works as a, let's say, a teacher, even though I understand that always said that I prefer a human as a teacher because this connection, this human connection between the student and the teacher is very important. But for some specific places, they have a lot of people, a lot of children in schools. They maybe are not able to access to school because the climate conditions, because maybe the children work in this specific place. So I was thinking, is it possible to create these AIs that works, let's say, as a second teacher in case this first teacher, the real teacher, the human teacher, is not able to go to them? Even, for example, for more personalized paths, for imagine that, I don't know, your children or even you, maybe you are a little bit, let's say, worse, and I don't want to use this word, but like you are not maybe following the group in one specific subject. Why, if you are given an AI to do more exercises, more for you, like maybe the majority of your colleagues or of your children colleagues have, I don't know, 10 exercises for one specific thing, maybe this person need more exercises. So why not having an AI that complements all of that and create personalized paths, training paths for you? I think it's very valuable, and it's something now we can create, and it's not so difficult. But I guess the more complex thing to be done in this case is to do it well, because it's something that technically it's possible, but as we are talking about in the first case in the healthcare sector, we are talking about health, which is a very relevant thing, of course, that we all want to preserve. And also health care information in the EU, for instance, is very secure and protected, because we don't want, for example, our assurance to know if we are sick or not, or our, I don't know, whatever. So we want to protect this data. But also, for example, what about children? They, of course, if we are we are thinking about education, most of education is focused on children, and we want our children to be trained and educated with good information and with relevant things and with non-biased information and news and all that thing. So preserving this is very complicated. So it's very interesting to work on that. I think the conclusion of this episode would be that it's completely possible to create different use cases in justice, in education, in healthcare, in many different public aspects. Also, if you are an NGO, I think you can use your data, your existing data, your materials, the things you are doing. Think you can create your own AI to assist you to be able to go farther. I don't believe that AI is going to be able to replace you or to do the human things. I don't think so. I think this is not the point. That I think we no one wants to do that as well. But what I think AI can do is making you more powerful as an NGO or a civil servant or whatever you are doing, and go beyond and use your time and your energy not on bureaucracy, on correcting exercises, on automated tasks that don't create value, but to be able to have time for talking to your children, the children you are teaching, or for example, your patients or whatever. This is what AI makes you powerful for. You are going to be given more time, more energy to focus on the real things that a human needs, and of course they all need everything, but nowadays we have a powerful tool that is able to make your work more human. So this is the end of the story, the conclusion. If you want to do it well, I can help you with that. There is also a lot of professionals that could be able to help you. But I guess that public sector also needs this digitalization. It's not obvious. It's maybe more complex because there is more stakeholders in the public sector than in the private one. But at the end of the day, it's very relevant because public sector is like the basis of the states, of the democracies of the world. So if they keep the technology of 10 years ago or 20 years ago, the future is not obvious for our society. So I think this step is very important. And also about talking about NGOs, I know it's there are other problems. Having working as a voluntary in some NGOs, and I know that there is like a lot of rotation in the people. Also, while talking about, I don't know, money, it's sometimes a problem because most of the work done is voluntary basis because they don't have money, and it's understandable. And the little they have, maybe they use the focus on the thing they are doing. Actually, if they work with sustainable things, maybe they focus on the aspect they are working, or if they work on developing regions, they focus on that, and it's completely understandable. But maybe there are simple ways to do part of the work of the work you are pretending to do by AI. And of course, we don't want, I said again, we don't want to replace anyone, but maybe if a person is not able to arrive until the end of the work they need to do, or an NGO, because it's like thousands of needs beyond, maybe working with AI to arrive to the places that you're not able to arrive, that maybe helps. And that's with that I finish. I can imagine that I have been talking about many different use cases, many different things. If you have questions about that, you can put some comments below, and I will be more than happy to answer them. And of course, if you have more things, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You have all my profiles, all my links in the description below, in YouTube, in Spotify, and wherever you are watching this. And saying that, I thank you very much, your time, your energy, for being here one more week. Hope you are enjoying also these small episodes I'm creating myself, talking about different aspects. And yes, let's stay in touch for the next episode. Bye bye.